It's a great privilege to have the opportunity to bring to your attention and to update you on the religious freedom crisis that confronts our mother church, the Ecumenical Patriarchate. We will be giving you a progress report, review the 5 basic violations of religious freedom, and where we stand. Perhaps the most basic and fundamental violation is the very lack of legal personality the Ecumenical Patriarchate experiences in Turkey. And it's not only our spiritual center of world orthodoxy, but the Roman Catholics, the Protestants, the Jews, the Armenians, and even the largest minority, the Alevi Muslims, who number 15 million in their own country. Another violation is the inability to buy, sell, or inherit property. In 1936, when the church registered its properties, we registered over 8,000 properties, and since then, over the past 75 years, there has been a systematic expropriation of the properties to the point where we number less than 500 properties today. Another egregious violation that affects our very faith is the government interference in the selection of the ecumenical patriarch. This is not just an administrative interference, my brothers and sisters, but this is an interference in the apostolic succession of our church, in which the Turkish authorities impose burdens and citizenship requirements that are non-canonical, not legal, and interfere in the absolute succession that His All Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch and the 268 other ecumenical patriarchs to the very first holder of that sacred see of Constantinople, the sacred see of St. Andrew, the first called apostle. Another violation is the refusal of the government of Turkey to recognize the ecumenical status of His All Holiness. And finally, 41 years ago, Halki was forcibly closed and its doors remain shuttered. And we'll talk about where we stand on that as well. But I must say, due to the brilliance, the prescience, the vision of the fathers, the Holy Fathers of the Church, Canon 28 is the instrument that has enabled the Archons, under the leadership of Archbishop Demetrius of America, to connect the most powerful country on earth and the country that enshrines religious freedom among its very first amendments in the Bill of Rights to the Ecumenical Patriarchate. And here we have the United States and Turkey, the Fanar, Asia Minor, being bridged by the brilliance of our Holy Fathers through the Canon 28, which extends jurisdiction. Now, this was in 451, over 1,500 years ago, which extends jurisdiction of the so-called barbaric nations, those nations outside the empire, to the Ecumenical Patriarchate. So that's why we, as American Orthodox, can go with the full power and prestige, and accompanied by our U.S. ambassador, to countries all over Europe fighting for religious freedom, and go to the Prime Minister, go to Ankara and meet with the various ministers, again, accompanied by the ambassador of the United States. So that has armed the order, the army of Archons, if you will, with this brilliant instrument that connects the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese eparchy to the Holy Mother Church. Where do we stand on these 5 issues? I'll briefly tell you where we stand today, July 4th. The issue of legal personality. there's absolutely been no progress, no substantive progress in this regard. And we grade the government of Turkey. What do you think they deserve on this? We agree. F. No progress whatsoever. The next item, cannot buy, sell, or inherit property. I have to tell you, there's a little bit of progress and potential progress here. As you recall, last year on August 28th, the Prime Minister met and had dinner with His All Holiness the Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, and he said at that time that he would issue a decree requiring the return of confiscated properties to religious minority foundations. It's a little bit technical, and we have Judge Bazanellis of the Archon Legal Committee assisting the Ecumenical Patriarchate. But basically, a certain number of properties are eligible to be returned, and those properties are 1,060. Now, I'm not going to get into all the technicalities, but the potential for the actual physical return of property titles has never been more real than it is today, July 4th, 2012. There is a deadline next month, August 28th, in which all the 1,060 properties will have been litigated, registered in a technical manner, in a legal manner, and here the judge and Patriarchal Attorney John Kadistakis and the brilliant young deacon Joachim Billis were deliberating over this issue at a recent trip. So where we are today, less than 500 properties, the potential now is over 1,500 properties located in and around Constantinople and throughout Turkey, present-day Turkey. And some of these properties, I tell you, are just among the most exclusive in modern-day Constantinople, Istanbul, on the Bosphorus River, next to the Four Seasons. I mean, the potential is very, very exciting. Another positive development in the return of property, of course, is the return of the Prinkipo's orphanage, mandated and required by the European Court of Human Rights. Where do we stand on that? We give the government of Turkey a C+, because the orphanage was returned. There are 1,060 properties in play. We'll know definitively next month where we stand on that. So we're getting there, but we're not there. And there's the orphanage, and of course, His Eminence recalls with Archon Fanis Economidis last year, actually November 30th, 2010, when they happened to be at the Ecumenical Patriarchate, when the actual title of the property of the orphanage was returned. Where do we stand on the problem of interference in the selection of the Ecumenical Patriarch? Well, as you know, there are two legal instruments, the Teskari of 1923 and the Talamat of 1970, that require certain restrictions, procedures, protocols that are completely non-canonical, requiring Turkish citizenship. But what the government has done is that they have now granted Turkish citizenship sort of as a workaround to the Turkish citizenship requirement to those hierarchs who have applied. Unfortunately, they have rejected a number of hierarchs. So this is not done, we feel, in complete good faith, and it is against the canons of the Church. So we give the government of Turkey a C+, because they're doing a workaround regarding certain aspects, but it's not where it needs to be. The status of ecumenicity, the ecumenical patriarch. He is not the patriarch or the local bishop of the Fenar district in Constantinople. He is the world leader, the spiritual father of the 300 million Orthodox Christians. They've talked about the term ecumenical. For the first time, the Prime Minister has discussed it informally. They almost seem to be flirting with the title, but not using it. So the fact that they're bringing it up and discussing it, we're giving them a gentleman's C on that. Halki, this is the big thorn, Halki. At every opportunity, His Eminence, the Archbishop, raises this issue with the authorities. Back in September, when Prime Minister Erdogan was in New York attending the United Nations meetings, a meeting was scheduled with His Eminence and the Prime Minister, and we accompanied His Eminence. And His Eminence brought up in a very eloquent and elegant way the issue of Halki and how it's been closed for 41 years, and there needs to be remedy. We received the standard reply that, well, these are issues that we're considering, but Greece has to do A, B, and C. And then His Eminence reminded them, well, we are American citizens, and we come as Americans discussing these issues with you. And other issues were brought up in a manner that was very, very effective, I have to tell you, as I witnessed this meeting. And as a personal human element point of view, at the very end of the meeting, I asked if I could be recognized. The Archbishop said, go ahead, do what you want to do. And I brought a book with me that then Mayor of Istanbul and current Prime Minister Erdogan had given the very first delegation of Archons in 1998, actually August 31, 1998, brought and gave to the Archons visiting his office to make a courtesy call demonstrating the love and respect the Orthodox of America have to the Mother Church. And as a memento, the then mayor gave us a book, signed his name, dated it, and gave us his business card, which I then filed away. Little did I know that over a decade later, 13 years later, it would come up again. I resurrected the book. I brought the business card. I showed him his signature, a big, big grin on the Prime Minister's face. He showed his ministers and assistants who were with him, showed him his business card. It showed an element of human interest in how we've been working for years and years and years, even before he was Prime Minister, on these issues of religious freedom. As I said, at every opportunity, His Eminence brings this up to the highest authorities, here with Barack Obama, going back to Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and Barack Obama. His Eminence has always led the charge in this respect. And then we were so excited that on Greek Independence Day, on the feast day of the Annunciation, on March 25th, we get a message from the White House itself, from the press department, that President Obama stated in Seoul, Korea, at a NATO summit, side by side with Prime Minister Erdogan, quote, "I am very pleased to hear his decision to reopen the Halki Seminary on Hybidalia." Well, as we know today, that didn't work out. We were all extremely disappointed. President Joe Biden made a historic 2-hour visit to the Ecumenical Patriarch, where they had a private meeting for an hour, and then subsequently an hour in which His All Holiness and the Archbishop gave the Vice President a tour of St. George Patriarchal Cathedral, where he venerated the relics of the fathers of the Church, St. John Chrysostom and St. Gregory the Theologian. So that was a very historic meeting, and the issue came up again, Halki. So, at this point, we're exhausting the armamentarium, and we may be considering legal action to make remedy of the Halki reopening. So what grade do we give Turkey on reopening Halki? F, we agree. No progress, and we hope something can happen in the near future. We pursue the multifaceted resolution. I'm going to give you a before and after. You remember in 2008 we had 19 resolutions in 16 states. Where are we today? 19 resolutions, 16 states. 51 resolutions, 42 states. Think about that. Resolutions in the various individual state legislatures. In 42 states, we have adopted the resolutions. But you know, in 5 states, now those of you who are delegates from those blue states, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Maryland, well, you have a start. Resolutions have been introduced but have gotten nowhere. We need your help. And just like what happened in Texas, when it was first defeated, and then Regional Commander Chris Pappas organized the troops, Metropolitan Isaiah, the priests, the parishioners, over 1,000 letters of the parishioners were sent to the state legislator in Texas, and you know, that did the trick, and the resolutions were passed. Now, if you're in these red states, not too many Orthodox Christians in Idaho and Montana, but you notice that in North and South Dakota there aren't so many either, and they passed the resolution. New Hampshire, we need to work on. Nothing has happened there, and there are a lot of Orthodox in New Hampshire. So, representing 90%, nearly 90%, and I shout out to Stefan Georgeson on this project, who's been our coordinator. Another fantastic initiative has been the United States Senate letter writing and signature obtaining, which is an education process for the senators. In 2006, under the leadership of Andy Manitas and his son Mike, Archon Regional Commander Andy, 75 signatures were obtained. See how things have progressed? 2006, 75, 2012, due to constant efforts and initiatives and meetings, 90% of the 100 senators of the United States Senate. So hats off to Andy Manitas. Thank you. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, and Dr. Elizabeth Prodromou was the outgoing vice chair, pointed out Turkey as a watch list country. In other words, we're going to watch you, Turkey, and see what you do. So in 2011, they were watching them, and instead of going in the right direction, they went in the wrong direction. And Turkey, in 2012, this year, got to the worst category of religious violators, among religious freedom violators. They are a country of particular concern, a country of particular concern, the worst category. We were very pleased at the 2010 Religious Freedom Conference that the Archons put together. Think about this. A group in the United States puts together a $500,000 project that the Archons themselves raised on religious freedom, and where do we hold it? We held it in the European Parliament, in the hallowed halls of the European Parliament, where we had scholars, diplomats, and Turkish minority members, scholars and diplomats from around the world, and Turkish minority members testify as to their grievances with respect to religious freedom. That took place at the European Parliament, very successful, made an impact on the Parliament. Things are changing a little bit since that time, as we noted earlier. However, we are at the point where it's time for another Religious Freedom Conference, and that is scheduled for November 2013 in Berlin, Germany. It's open to the public. We invite you. Go on our website and you'll hear more about it. The theme of that conference is Tearing Down Walls. It's chaired by Archon George Rackus in Boston. The previous conference theme was Religious Freedom, Bridge to the European Union. Another thing that we just started talking about is developing partnerships with our brother Archons north and south of the border. And as I conclude, you could learn more about these undertakings and initiatives and efforts by logging on to our website, archons.org, by subscribing to the annual report, to the and obtaining a copy of First Among Equals, which was a collaborative effort with the Department of Religious Education. Hats off to Dr. Vrame, wherever you are, Tony. Did a phenomenal job with the guidance of His Eminence. Our newsletter, and again, we offer our profound respect and appreciation to His Eminence, the Archbishop of America, to their eminences, the metropolitans of the Holy Eparchial Synod, the respected bishops, clergy, archons, and the faithful in America. And now let us go forward in our own communities to defend the Holy Mother Church of Constantinople, fighting for religious freedom. Thank you.